Well, hello there, everybody. It is Wednesday once again. I don't even know how these weeks and days just kind of keep going by in a blur. I think it's because I have this crazy idea to do a list aim with a rapid release series. It's nuts. I don't know what I was thinking. It's been a bit of a crazy week, and there's so many different things that are going on that hopefully this makes sense to you guys. We've got loud kids all over the shop, so hopefully they're a little bit quieter too. Today is my son's 15th birthday, and so there's a lot of stuff that's happening, and I'm going to have to probably keep this conversation a little bit brief. But if that's the case, and if it's a little bit of a quicker conversation, be sure to check out the podcast today, because there is a lot more information that I'm going to deliver about list aiming and about my experiences list aiming. With this series. So it's a good podcast episode, I believe, and hopefully you'll get some information out of it that will help you if you ever decide you want to go ahead and do some list naming yourself. Okay, so for me, let's talk about list naming a little bit before things get completely crazy. Today's my son's 15th birthday, so we have like 3 different people who are about to come over so that they can all hang out in a tent outside and play cards. So Magic the Gathering, it's kind of crazy. So I'm kind of waiting for a knock on the door. But at any rate, so this list aiming thing, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. So when I first started the idea of whether or not, kind of playing around with the idea, I guess, of whether or not I wanted to list aim, it was probably 2016, 2017. And it was even before releasing any of the Pendamis Chronicles or things like that. I had a couple of friends who, when we first started writing back in 2010, 2011, we were kind of in the same circle. We were critique partners, and they actually hit the different lists. And I remember thinking, wow, so indie authors can actually do that. And at the time, it didn't occur to me that that was a thing, that was even a possibility for an author to be able to do. So it kind of sat there. I wasn't overly, at the time, thinking I wanted to go ahead and try to list aim or try to become a New York Times or USA Today bestselling author. It was just kind of out there. It was like I was very much excited for my friends who had made the list. But for myself, I was more into the story and trying to finish what I started, because at that time I had only had the one book out and I was trying to finish the rest of the series. And I think I was still in the mindset that it took a little bit of time, because writing that first book, while it came out quickly, the production side of things took a lot longer than I anticipated. And obviously, as you continue to go, you get your processes in place and things get quicker. So now that it's been a decade and things have progressed to that point, the concept of list aiming really has changed in my mind. And it's not so much about the notoriety of it, because to me still it's not where I'm at with it. It's more about the goal. I think for me, I like to set lofty goals. I'm a high achiever. So I like to create goals that are attainable and measurable, and I can tell myself whether or not I met that goal. Hey Terry, good to see you here. I see that you're commenting. Welcome. So that's kind of really my ultimate goal here. It's because it's an attainable and measurable goal to be able to put out there and try to reach. And then if you make the list, you know whether or not you actually hit that goal. Where a lot of times with our creative endeavors, there isn't a true marker. There isn't a point where you go, yes, I made that thing happen. A lot of times, even our ideas of launches or trying to get a book out at a certain time, those dates can sometimes slide, and we start to feel like things aren't going the way that we want them to go. So hey David, good to see you too. Welcome to the show today. And let me know, guys, have either of you had any ideas of wanting to eventually list aim, or have my stories created more of a horror type situation in your minds? I'm kind of curious. Oh my goodness. But there's 2 different lists that most authors will really try to hit. There's more than that. Like, you could hit Wall Street Journal as well. But I don't know that there's a lot of authors who are like, hey, I really want to get on the Wall Street Journal, unless you're writing, nonfiction with finance in mind. But they do fiction. So their lists also include fiction. You can end up hitting the Wall Street Journal if you hit other lists. A little of both. There you go, Terry. Oh my goodness, I completely understand that one, especially after knowing what I know now. Maybe someday. Very good. That's kind of how I felt when I first started as well, David. It was one of those things where it was just not, I didn't have the tools, and I'm glad that I didn't even try then, because it was really weird to find out all the information that really honestly, and I'm going to give you this fact, when it comes to hitting a list, what it really comes down to is having, number one, a good product, because you want your product to be the best that it can be, and then you want it to be as saleable to the mass market as possible, but also to hit the audience that you want it to hit. So it's like this weird trend of, or treading this fine line, I guess, of making sure that you're hitting your genre and making sure that you're still open enough to be able to hit a larger audience. It's very strange. But then the biggest component of it is the funds and having enough money to be able to go ahead and do the list aim. Because when you are trying to do something this big, it requires getting the word out across as many different platforms as possible. And so the ultimate thing that I really want you to be thinking about, if you ever want to do this, is to start saving up like a war chest to make sure that you have enough money to be able to go towards the list aim. From what I understand, each list aim costs more the first time you do it, and then they start to come down subsequently after that, because people get to know you, they've seen your name, you are now a larger, wider author out there in the public, and so it's easier for them to identify who you are, what you write, and go ahead and pre-order or buy your books. So it's always more of a hurdle when you're a new author to the majority of the public. So keep that in mind as well. So when I'm saying a war chest, I'm meaning anywhere between, depending on what list you're trying to hit, anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 your first time. It's insane. And so for me, it doesn't have to be in a large chunk right up front. It has to be spread out. I mean, it can be spread out over the course of, let's say, a year or however much, because you're putting money into all of the different, you don't have to. There are authors who don't do this. They just do it with ads, but you're putting a lot of money into promotions, so promo sites that will be stacked according to the, hopefully, according to the quality of the site as your list aim launch week starts. That's not always the case. I was trying to aim for that with Secret Legacy, but of course the heavy hitters decided that they wanted to be out the day it launches. So things like BookBub, they're doing a featured new release deal, which is like getting a featured deal normally, but this is a new release. And that's going out on the 15th, which is the day that it launches. And like the second biggest site, eReader News Today, is also doing it that same day. So then you have to adjust your plan and try to figure out, okay, so if these are the big guys that are going to be promoting things on this first day, do I then hold off my advertising dollars, the actual spend for Amazon ads, Facebook ads, BookBub ads, so that that money can be better spent on days where the promotions are either waning or perhaps they don't have as much power as BookBub and ENT behind them. So there's a lot of like guesswork in the marketing side of things, and there's a lot of stuff that can be done in advance. Not all promotion sites will allow you to go ahead and sign up for their promos like well in advance, but a lot of them do. So the majority of them, as long as it's 6 months out, you can start to put money into those sites and try to get them paid for, get them on the schedule so that your book is ready to go. But there's a few of them that will not. So ENT, for example, would not let me even go in there until we were a month out. BookBub, while they accepted me a couple of months ago, they didn't have me pay for it until right now. So there's a few different variations, things that can happen when you go ahead and do the promotion sites. But you're also wanting to be running ads, and you're going to want to get people out there. There's a lot of different techniques, and it really depends on the list that you're aiming for too, in my personal opinion. Because some of the advice that I found online for authors who are looking to hit the USA Today list, it's different, I think, if you're trying to hit the New York Times. And so for me, I had to adjust my covers. I wanted to make sure that they fit in theme with what I felt the New York Times would be looking for, because they curate their list. So let's talk about that actually really briefly. The two different lists, so New York Times and USA Today, that most authors will try to hit, they're a little different because USA Today has 150 slots. They go based off of your rankings and sales. So if you sell enough books, you're going to make the list. And what is enough sales? Well, it fluctuates up and down, so it varies widely. The rule of thumb is that you want to have 5,000 copies sold during your launch week, so that includes your pre-orders, 5,000 copies on Amazon the week of launch. And then you want to have at least 500 copies on any other platform so that they can see that you're a wide author, that your reach went out further than just Amazon. So you have to be a wide book in that category or in that space if you're trying to list a title. So that's why I was pushing Apple iBooks earlier in the summer, because really honestly that was the one that for whatever reason I was getting the most traction on and still am. So there are different ways to be able to do it. So 5,000 and 500 you need to have just as like a guideline. However, there are authors that I know who have made the USA Today bestseller list with 150 on one site, on like Amazon or on Barnes & Noble or Apple, and then like 3,500 on Amazon. So it really honestly depends on the rest of the sales that are going on around you. So if you have authors where there isn't a lot of competition that week, there's a better chance for you. But if you have a lot of competition, if those big publishers are out there and they're pushing their big name authors, like I would not have wanted to be list aiming the week that Stephanie Meyer dropped The Midnight Sun, which is the book of Twilight from Edward's perspective. That went like instant bestseller, and it was just like, I am so glad I wasn't involved with that. And she's probably still going to be on that chart by the time September 15th comes around. So goodness gracious, I don't even know. It gets nuts. Now, if you're trying to hit New York Times, they actually say to double that. So you want to be aiming for 10,000 copies on Amazon and probably 1,000-ish on any other platform. Now, whether or not I'm even going to come close to that, I honestly don't know. That's my goal. It's my aim. But right now, I have, and keep in mind, the majority of my budget is going out for launch week. So I have been running ads, BookBub ads, Amazon ads, and Facebook ads, but all at a low budget, trying to just get as many pre-orders as possible before we go ahead and go into launch week. But I have, let's see here. I could tell you what it was as of yesterday. Oops, wrong one. So as of yesterday, as I knock everything over, I had 1,150 pre-orders on Amazon. So 1,150. And I had almost 100 on Apple and almost 50 on Barnes & Noble. So all of that is where I'm at right now. Is it anywhere near where I want to be? Well, of course not. But also, I know all the different things that are coming up. For example, I have 2 blog tours that are scheduled. One is just starting this week. Another blog tour is starting the 7th of September. And then I have all of those promotions that are launching the week of. I have a bunch of newsletter swaps with big name authors that are in my genre. So we've got, I think in total, there's close to 100 starting September 1st all the way through to the end of launch week. So there's a bunch of really big heavy hitter newsletter swaps. Plus I am in Publisher Weekly, which is a huge magazine, if any of you have heard it, but there's a promotion where they're doing a most anticipated books of fall. It's going to be inside that edition. Apple has chosen it as a most anticipated book for the fall too, but it's obviously a digital version. So there's a bunch of different things that are happening starting September. We're a week out. And so all of these things will start to accumulate. Plus then I can put money into advertising through Amazon and BookBub and Facebook and like really try to push it even harder. So all of these things are kind of going on behind the scenes in order to make this list run happen. And there's probably even more that I'm forgetting, but there's a ton of stuff that is super important when it comes to getting your name out there, getting your launch and your series out there. And hopefully what I'll be able to do from this, even if I don't make the list, even if I fall flat, I'm hoping that it's still enough to be able to propel the rest of the series forward and maybe even lift the back catalog that I have already. So that'll be the main thing that I'll be giving to you guys. Okay, so Terry says, it's obvious to me that I need to know more about ads. Yes, you do need to know more about ads. They are super, super critical, especially when it comes to getting sales on books once they become your back catalog and not your new release. And that happens very quickly on Amazon because Amazon considers a new release to only be the first 30 days. They drop off a cliff after 30 days, they drop off another cliff after 60, and then they are down in the I don't even know where after 90 days unless you start advertising. So it's very, very important to be looking into ads or looking into promo sites or utilizing, like if you're in KDP, utilizing their free or countdown days, because then you can promote your title and you can promote it as a promotion and get more people and more eyes on it and be able to boost it up in the rankings again, which is very important for Amazon to be able to then want to natively advertise for you as well. What's a blog tour? Okay, so a blog tour, they're kind of archaic in my mind, but some of them are very effective still. So what they are is you sign up for a tour company. So I have two. One's called Silver Dagger Tours and one is called Espresso Tours. You want to find one that does tours in your genre, because if you get one that, you know, if you're a mystery writer and you're looking for, or you get hooked up with a paranormal romance blog tour, it's not going to obviously work very well for you. So you want to make sure you're looking for the right kind of tour company and make sure that they have the type of bloggers who can be involved. What happens is you email them, you say, okay, look, I'd like to do your uber mega blog tour that's going to last a month, whatever the case might be. They usually have a few options. It's usually a week, 2 weeks, or a month, I think is what most blog tours do. If you give them enough advance notice, they then put up a sign-up form. All of the bloggers who are part of their blog tour get notified, and then they have the option or the decision whether or not to join in. Now you can also then share the link and say, okay, I would love for you book bloggers that I know to join into Espresso Tours blog tour that's happening XYZ date and help me out in spreading the word. They can sign up for the tour as well. It doesn't have to be someone who's just a part of the tour already. It's if they want to be able to promote your book. And so it's very hands-on trying to organize the whole thing, which is why you pay someone to do it. It's almost like they are almost, in my opinion, like another PA, because they manage getting all of the information on who's going to be running the tour, what dates they're going to be running, and then they contact them and they make sure that they have all of the information they need. They'll contact you saying, okay, I need to have 7 excerpts from your book. I need to have your book cover. I need to have your book blurbs. I need to have you do these interviews. So then they send you the information that they require of you. You make sure that they have it in advance. They give it to the book bloggers. So they do all of the correspondence work. All you have to do is pay for it and then fill out the questionnaires or do the excerpts and things like that once they get closer to the launch of the tour. So it is a little bit of work on your part, but it's a lot less work than if you were trying to create the tour yourself, which you can do. I've done it in the past, but it is a lot of work. And so I would much rather pay $150 to someone else and let them do it than to try to organize all of that while I was in the middle of everything else that I was doing. So, there you go, Terry. What does it cost? It just depends on what you're looking for. Things like a cover reveal, they're usually like $40. But a tour can range anywhere from $100 on up to like $500 depending on what type of tour you want to do. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And it depends on the tour company as well. So hopefully that's helpful. But all of those things are happening. And so we'll see what happens when launch week goes on. It's just a couple of weeks away now. I can't even, I'm like, how did that happen? It's crazy. It's like 3 weeks away. And here we are. It'll be nuts. Oh, one of the things that I do recommend too, and I mentioned this in the podcast, is that if you are not a member of International Book Publishers Association, IBPA, I recommend checking them out. That they have been one of the most eye-opening experiences that I have had in this process of list aiming. Originally, I found them, I think it was through Espresso Tours, and because they were doing NetGalley stuff on your behalf. They could do NetGalley stuff, and I think they talked about IBPA. And so I went to go check out IBPA. IBPA also does NetGalley proofs on your behalf, which is a company that allows you to put ARC copies out there, ARC copies, to allow a wider array of readers to read it. So these are booksellers, librarians, teachers, and then the general public as well. But it's heavy on that side of the spectrum. And it gives you a little bit more of a broad base to see how your book's falling with the general public. So I gave it a try. I wanted to see what it was. I signed up for the 3-month deal, which is a lot cheaper than trying to go straight to NetGalley, because they only offer a 6-month or a 1-year version of their ARC promotion. And it's a lot more expensive when you do it that way, obviously, because it's on their site a lot longer. But IBPA has had all sorts of other interesting, they have been running so many different webinars and online gatherings and giving information to independent publishers on promotion opportunities that I would not have known of otherwise. They have a media contact list. So, for instance, I signed up for that media contact list, an email broadcast that went out to their list for different media who like to read paranormal, who like to read supernatural stuff, so that I could see if we can get any media coverage for Windhaven, like actual media coverage outside of just like my local community. So these are people who either have magazines or newspapers or are a part, hopefully, maybe New York Times, who knows. So it's this whole big system almost. It's like an ecosystem of different things that you can get in on by being a part of this organization. And I had heard of them before, but I think it's like $200 to sign up for the entire year to be part of the membership. And then obviously you pay for any of the promotional opportunities that you have to do. But it's all at a discount because now you're a member. And it's completely paid for itself. And for me, it's just been an incredible opportunity to be able to see behind the curtain of how some of the bigger publishers are probably handling their business. So definitely think about, at some point down the road, when you have enough books and you're thinking about list aiming, join that organization, because there's some incredible information and some incredible people who are running it. So I highly recommend them. And know that I don't have any affiliate links or anything like that. I should probably check and see if they do that for members. I don't think they do, but at any rate, they're fantastic. Definitely check them out. All right, so my biggest thing that's coming up right now, since I have 3 weeks left, is to finish up and get everything cleaned up for Secret Legacy. So it's almost finished. I mean, it's literally, I just have to upload the most recent file, and then that's done. It's ready to rock and roll. I am getting the edited version of Soul Legacy back from the editor this next week, and then I have to clean it up. I have to create the paperback version of the cover, which will be totally easy because I have already done the paperback version of Secret Legacy, so it's just a matter of doing some tweaking and making sure that it has the correct look and feel to the next title, which is really nice when you have books that look very similar. So then Soul Legacy will be finished. Haunted Legacy will be going to the editor on September 1st. And I am wrapping up Cursed Legacy, like actually writing it right now. So I am a third of the way done. I think I just finished chapter 10 last night. And by the end of this week, I'm going to be done with chapter 15. So I'll be at the halfway mark by the end of this week. And it's coming along really great. So I'm hoping not to jinx it, because it's been a really fun book to write. And I think it's because it's getting down to the end now. I know what's happening. I know these characters. At any rate, so there's all these things that you juggle when you are a rapid release author and when you're a rapid release author who's list aiming. So keep all of that kind of in your back pocket. Think about, is that something that sounds like fun, or is it something that sounds completely overwhelming and crazy? It's not as bad as it sounds once you've done it a couple of times, but it is a lot of work when you're not quite sure what it is that you should be doing. So I know the list aim part is kind of where I'm not sure if I'm doing what I should be doing, so I'm just kind of taking stabs at the dark and kind of doing what I think makes the most sense in order to hit my list. But when it comes to the rest of it, the writing, the scheduling, the formatting, all of that stuff, I've done this before. And so for me, it's very easy to know how much time it will take me in order to wrap it all up and get it out there and get it done. So that's not a concern of mine at all. Hopefully that's helpful. And if you've got any questions when it comes to list aiming, or questions regarding rapid releasing and what it's like to launch a rapid release series, let me know. It will definitely be interesting to be able to let you know how the outcome works. Like, whether or not I make the list, that's one goal. But does it then launch my author platform a little bit wider? Do I have a bigger fan base because of this bigger listing? Because before now, the biggest launch I have ever done, I probably spent $200, $250 at most. And then literally it was done because I didn't have funds to continue on with ads afterwards. So ads get shut off and then it just kind of falls by the wayside. Where this time, there will be a huge launch week and then it goes straight into another book, which then has to have its own promotion. And then another book, which has to have its own promotion. And another book, which has to have its own promotion. And there will be ads running completely through from one book to the next. So we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting experiment, if nothing else. So, Kim's here. She says, in regards to rapid release, can you list, say, book 1 for pre-sale and book 2 for pre-sale when book 1 goes live? Oh, absolutely. You can pre-sale as many books as you want without even having the books available. So, like, none of my books are ready. Well, I shouldn't say none of them. When I first started, I didn't have any of the books written, with the exception of Secret Legacy was done in a really weird version. I had tried to do a reverse harem book with Secret Legacy, and it didn't work at all. I can't write reverse harem to save my life. And so I knew I was going to rewrite that entire book, make sure that the boyfriend that I liked in the very beginning was going to stay the boyfriend, whatever. So when I put everything up for pre-sale, I knew what the dates were. And then I did it so that a year in advance is when those pre-sales went up. So Secret Legacy, I could put up for pre-sale September 15th of last year. And then the next book was October 8th. So I could put up the pre-sale October 8th of the next year. So it just depends on how far out you want your pre-orders to go. So if you're going to be a year out, you have to wait for a year. So if you wanted to do it so that it comes out in December of next year, you're going to have to wait until December of this year to be able to put the pre-order up. But if it's 6 months out, you can go ahead and put all of them up right now if you wanted to, as long as you know what the titles are and you have you can even do a mock-up cover. So for instance with I don't have Diana over here, but with Oracle, I have her brand new cover for book 1, but that book's out there. Book 2 is coming. I know it's coming in February, but I don't have a cover yet because the cover designer can't work on it until November. But I still wanted to get the pre-order up there. So I've got the pre-ordered cover where it just says cover coming soon because it's coming soon. It's not available yet. But I know what's happening. I know what the story's going to do, and I'm going to put it out there. I technically know that there are 4 other books after that are also coming out next year. But I haven't had the time with everything else going on to be able to put them up. But you can put as many pre-orders out there as you know are ready, as long as they're within that year time span of the pre-order allotment on Amazon. So yeah, go ahead and put as many as you want out there, as long as you want to be able to getting those pre-order sales. I know a lot of authors who say there's no benefit of putting them out on pre-order, and I kind of disagree. For me, it's like you can get as many pre-order sales, and you can, during that process, I have found with Secret Legacy, there isn't with the new release, the featured new release, where you've got that orange tag that says featured #1 new release, whatever, in whatever category it is. If you can hit that #1 spot in any of your categories, you could be at the featured new release, that title, for months because of the fact that you've got your pre-order up there. That's been the case with Secret Legacy. And once you go live, you only have 30 days to be able to keep that tag. And then you drop off and it's now someone that's new that comes in and is able to take that tag over, because you're no longer a new release, you are a release, period. So hopefully that made sense, and hopefully it was helpful to you, Kim. Thank you for joining too. I didn't know you were here. Make sure you guys say hello when you hop on so that I can say hello back. All right, well, that's what I've got today. If there's any other questions, let me know. There's a lot of information, and I do cover a lot of other information in the podcast episode as well, if you wanted to be able to hear it. Some of it we covered here, and some of it we did not. So, all right. Whew. It's been a crazy morning already, and so far, no kids have knocked on my door, so that's a good thing. We'll see what time they get here. Oh, goodness, birthdays. Okay, So have a great rest of your week. Hopefully you get some writing in today, and we will talk to you a little bit later. You have tons for later. Okay, Terry, well, just let me know. I'm here. Well, I might not be here so much today. I'm going to be baking cakes and entertaining 15-year-olds. Oh, dear God, help me. All right. We will talk to you again next week for sure, and have a great week. Bye, guys.